Derek Carr should be reevaluating his future right now, John. He once said he wants to play for the Raiders for life. Why should he still feel that way? How could he still feel that way?
He didn't just say he wanted to play the Raiders for life. He said he would quit football before he played for another team. I watched his press conference yesterday. He was in tears. And I think the tears were it was an emotional couple days. I mean, the guy wasn't only the neighbor of John Gruden, spent years trying to earn the guy's trust, and clearly had, and was playing some of the best football of his career. And then for this to happen, I think he starts evaluating, we're going to get a new coach at the end of the season. I'm coming up on a contract year. Are these guys even going to want me? It is the chaotic situation that is this organization, that every single turn of my career, and listen, you always say, there's a price of admission to most jobs, and especially high-level jobs where you're paid a lot of money. If you're Justin Herbert or you're Tom Brady or you're Jalen Hurts, there are certain things mandated of you, right? Your character, you're just going to be the face of the organization once you become the starter, so you got to act the right way. Then there's just basic parts, you talk more than any other player because you have to talk during the week and you have to talk after the game. So you speak for the organization. You're always going to be the most famous guy on the team for the most part, unless you have a J.J. Watt on your team. And even then, I'm sorry, Kyler's a bigger deal than J.J. right now. And even Deshaun surpassed him, right? The quarterback position's a powerful position. I don't think Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, the Raiders didn't just move. They went through a move where they were denied in L.A., their owners constantly being made fun of for being broke, and then they finally moved, but they didn't actually leave for a couple years. Their owner never says a fucking word because he hides it's the plague, and it's always Derek, who they are very, very lucky that Derek, who, and I was also, I was thinking about this last night, all the chaos of the Raiders, he never has anything to do with, right?
Never.
All the craziest, ever. If anything, he has been a sense and brought a stability of normalcy to probably the most chaotic franchise, in the league by a mile. Because even the Browns didn't, they moved 20 years ago, but I'm saying they lost a lot, or the Lions lost a lot, but this team moved. But they moved and then they stayed, right? They didn't go right away. It's just chaos. And this was icing on the cake, dilutes what just happened, and I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just saying this is just par for the course, what he's used to. It's just constant, just insanity. It's insanity what he has to answer for. Again, that he doesn't have anything to do with. Yet they always he speaks for the organization. And here's the other thing. Just knowing him for a long time and just knowing the way he thinks, he is really loyal. He's not, I don't think, he wasn't being cheesy when he says that. He really wants to be part of something. He's very prideful, in Fresno State. That family takes a lot of pride in that. It's a big deal to them. It was a big deal playing for the Raiders and being the quarterback for the Raiders. And I just think the Raiders, listen, has he been perfect as a player over the time? Of course not. But I would say they let him down over his tenure infinitely more than he ever let them down. And if he asked me for advice, which he wouldn't, but if he did, I would advise him at the end of the season, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah. We both go way back with Derek. I haven't talked to him probably since we saw him in Napa last, several years ago, back when we were doing radio. But I knew him pretty well when he was in college. I covered him. You were on the staff when he got there and to Fresno State. And I really liked him. And I think he is one thing when I'm talking to somebody, you probably do the same thing. Most people do this. When someone's like, oh yeah, I met, or I know, or I've been around somebody famous or interesting, whatever. One of the first questions, it doesn't have to be famous. If you're just working with somebody in an industry that I know, that it comes up a lot that way. We're like, oh, do you know so-and-so? Yeah, I work with him. What's his deal? Good guy? That's usually my question. What's a good person? Easy to work with? Diva? Right? Is he a diva? Is he cool? Is he humble? Just good guy?
Haberman's got some diva qualities.
That's always what I ask. I've got some standards, John, some requirements. But Derek on the most, just a good fucking dude. And there's a lot of good people out there. Not all of them are good enough to be starting franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I'd never asked him this, but he grew up, his brother was his hero. And his brother was the number one pick in the NFL draft and a starting quarterback in the NFL. And from a really young age, he was around it. And that's what he wanted. And he fucking achieved it. His brother did it. He saw it. He's like, I want to do that. And then he did it. He got a franchise of his own.
Wouldn't you say he upped David to it every?
And
he was the better college player. Well, I mean, he was the number 1 overall pick. He's definitely he bypassed him in the pros by a mile.
Unlike Dave, Derek solidified a home. This is my franchise. What was supposed to happen with Dave in Houston? This is my franchise, like mine. I'm the franchise quarterback. It's me. And they've done an awful job of supporting him. Like a terrible job of supporting him. They haven't supported him, really. I mean, they've said stuff, but it's not the best place to be if you're a franchise quarterback.
I mean, they didn't just trade his best friend on the team several years ago. He's one of the best players in the league at the time in Khalil Mack, right? I mean, those two were like the cornerstones of the organization.
Right, which has nothing to do with trading one of the highest paid receivers in the league.
Yeah. Which, listen, those two might have had a little bit of a falling out. Like, whatever. They were going to adapt. Like, you can find I'll hear you on this. You can find receivers much easier than you could ever find a Khalil Mack, and clearly they haven't found a Khalil Mack. Right.
And then it started. But here's the thing, John.
And then they started getting it together.
Bad. Yeah. It was working. It was working. Kind of. It was getting better on offense. So when the Rodgers rumors came up, I said, if I'm Derek Carr, I would root for the Packers. I want that to happen. I'd want to go to Green Bay. Easy for me to say from this seat. He's got a home. He's got a family. He's got a community. He's got a fan base. He's got a logo. Like, I want to be this for the rest. Just like I'm a Bulldog forever. He didn't change colleges. He was a Fresno State Bulldog. He's a Raider. But his contract's up after 2022. So he's got one more year on his contract. Now, as we know, you could tag him, I guess, right? But I'm with you.
I think countless teams would line up to trade you. Hey, I'll give you pick 20 for Derek, or 15, or who knows at the end of the season, and then immediately give him $130 million. Right?
If I were Derek, and I'm not saying this is what good organizations necessarily do, but it's what I would do if I were him. Like, I would be very aware, maybe even to the point that I'm involved with who the next head coach of the team is. I would not, if I'm the owner, ask a player necessarily who I should hire. I don't think it's good. But if I were a player with leverage, wondering if I want to be here forever, I'd want to know what's up. And I think they have a turning point of their franchise right now. Who do they hire to be their head coach? Which we'll get to.
They talked to Mayock about that. And in fairness, like, they are 3-2. They win this week. They're 4-2 with a win over them. There is a lot. Like,
John, they had a coach on a 10-year contract just lose his job.
I know. It would be stunning if they made the playoffs this year, right? Stunning, given what happened. They lost their head coach, who was their offensive play caller. Monday Night Football. He was fired in the middle of Monday Night Football. Week 17? No. Going into week 6, he had 6.5 years left on his contract. He did not make it to Tuesday of week 6. He's also the offensive
with a winning record.
Yeah, he was 3-2.
Not 0-6.
2 weeks ago, guy was 3-0. I mean, someone text me this, like, put it into perspective. He's like, think about this. 10 days ago, they were 3-0, and Gruden was, I wouldn't say quite toast of the league, but they were definitely one of the shining kind of stars of just, wow, no one saw this coming.
They were one of the absolute stories of the league. But here's what I think Derek's going to do. I think Derek's going to try and resurrect the Raiders franchise.
I think it'll just be a little. It's twofold. Does Mayock believe in him? Because he was a Gruden guy. Clearly.
Is Mayock hiring the head coach?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variables. If he is, like, that to me, what's their relationship? Who is the next head coach? Is an offensive guy? Do you win this year? Do they go 8-9 and they just go? Because I know this. The Eagles would take them. They got, but then the Raiders just completely blow it up again. Did you see Bill Barnwell?
John, in the new stadium, new fan base, like, that's not the time you usually do that.
Did you click on Bill Barnwell's article today?
No.
He did like a retrospective of the Gruden era. Every move.
Oh my God.
It was ugly. Draft, free agency, trades. Basically ended it with an unmitigated disaster of his tenure.
It felt like you said 2 weeks ago, they were on the right track. But in many ways, They got a new stadium. They got a new home. In many ways, they're worse off than they were when he got them. Like Jack Del Rio, who shared his thoughts, ripped Gruden, probably left more. Like, I don't know. I don't know if the job's more attractive then than it is now. I don't think I'd say that, because I think there are some pretty attractive parts of the job.
I think the trio of Khalil, Amari, and Derek was very, and they had Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson. Like, they had some core pieces. One thing Barnwell wrote is like, this is one of the worst cores in the league. Like, what's their core? I mean, Derek, Waller. Like, Crosby's a good player, but he's not like a Pro Bowler.
Jacobs.
But he's hurt a lot. He can't catch. Or he doesn't. They don't throw him the ball.
Max Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's got some holes, right?
It's got some holes, and it's not totally aligned, like, age-wise.
I know.